Mark, let's start with you, because we've been getting some new pictures from the MOD, haven't we?
Yeah, the Ministry of Defence now releasing cockpit pictures showing those Paveway 4 guided bombs that were dropped by these 4 Typhoon RAF combat jets out of Akrotiri in Cyprus. You can see for our television viewers the pictures at the moment showing targets on the ground. They're nighttime vision there, but 2 sites that were targeted by these 4 RAF Typhoons with those Paveway 4 guided bombs. We don't know of just how effective any of these strikes were, but we do know there were 60 separate strikes across 16 sites in Yemen, including sites in the capital Sana'a. And those sites included sites that were used for the manufacture of the munitions that are being launched towards those ships in the Red Sea. And this is why we're looking at this action, really, is because we have had weeks and weeks now of drones and missiles being launched by the Houthi rebels at the commercial shipping and indeed naval vessels in the Red Sea.
So has it been made clear then whether the attacks have been on munitions, hardware, rather than personnel?
Well, the intention, as we understand, was never to go after personnel, certainly not civilian areas. There is always the potential and the risk of collateral damage. But inevitably, these military sites will have military personnel manning the sites. So, yes, I'm sure there will be military casualties, but they are going after sites, as I say, linked to the drones and the missiles that have been sent off to degrade and dismantle that capability. And also, we should say the Yemen's capability, or at least the Houthi rebels' capability to launch attacks against those combat jets from the US and the UK as they fly over Yemen. So command and control radar sites and the like have also been targeted in this wave of attacks last night.
Isn't it true as well, though, Robert Fox, that Houthi, rather like Hamas we've seen in Gaza, do tend to, if they feel that they may be targeted in any way, they do tend to put civilians in those sites, military sites?
Yes, we know a bit about the 2 sites that the British Typhoons, the 4 Typhoons, attacked. They were drone facilities, particularly reconnaissance drones, which are very important. It was also symbolic. Of course, as Mark has been saying, the British have been by far away from being the main effort in this, but it was a necessarily important part to have a vital ally in there. And it's interesting, it's just Britain. I would have expected, because they do have vital interest there, the French to get involved. They've been remarkably silent about this. That the 2 centres were in the northwest, which is, by the way, Houthi heartland. Houthi tribal heartland is where the movement grew and generated in the last century. And there are symbolic gestures being made, but it was quite real. That I understand that they were drone factories, but some of the drones could deliver weaponry, but it's primarily the reconnaissance drones that they really want to get at. And when they're saying they want to degrade it, this was a military operation to deal with a defined and really understood military threat. There was, as I said, messaging with the various places that they went to, with the facilities around the capital, Sana'a. But of course, one of the big hubs is the port of Al Hudaydah, which is where the Galaxy leader and its crew, hijacked crew, is. It is the port. And that is where you do have the risk of collateral damage. It's where aid goes through. It's the big aid facilities. It's a very difficult one. But again, as Mark was suggesting, the battle damage analysis will be done like crazy. It will be done in the battle group of the carrier Eisenhower. It will be done in Cyprus. They will be using satellite surveillance, but they will also be using some manned aircraft to fly over and have a look at what they've done. Now we've got daylight.
I'm sorry to sort of drag it back to basics a little bit, Robert, on this, but so we've had.
I thought hitting military targets is pretty basic.
Well, no. But on it's a case of why are we doing this? Because I mean, so John's said this isn't our problem. We should keep out. Della's said it's just an unaffordable war for political purposes. We are talking about, in terms of the shipping lanes, never mind the attacks on our own vessels, a UK vital interest, aren't we?
Yes, it is. I mean, these are shipping that affect things that are going to appear in our shops and our gas stations, and it affects the insurance market. As I was saying, I know that the Ministry of Defence, for goodness sake, has been looking at the fluctuation in maritime insurance across the region since November, since the attacks began. No, I'm sorry, I do disagree with them. This is a vital interest, and where Britain and British interest and British welfare and prosperity is directly involved.
Thinking of the commercial shipping going, one of our viewers has said, what's China going to think of all this? Because a lot of the goods on those commercial ships will be Chinese goods, won't they?
And very, very good question. What are they doing? They are watching very closely. And I think, again, my colleague Mark was saying, you know, there is quite a big Russian and Chinese naval presence in the region, and they are doing the radar equivalent of sitting on your hands and really watching.
Of course, Russia's linked to Iran.
Well, this is the wicked problem for them, because they're now interlinked with Iran because of the vital supply. It proved increasingly important of very cheap drones, very capable drones and drone technology from Iran going to the Russian war effort in Ukraine. But they're hoist with that. Are they stuck with Iran and its proxies and what they're trying to do across Iraq, across Syria, across the Gulf, come what may? And I think that this was the spectre that the former terrorist advisor, Major General Chip Chapman, has just been saying on your show. It's absolutely right. It is very, very complex, this thing. It's looking like a wicked problem. And a wicked problem is where one solution cuts out another. But the Russians are not in as happy a place as might have been thought about this. They've got the problem with Hamas. They had very good relations with Israel up until quite recently. They've got Ukraine, and they've got dependence in a strange way on Iran now.
Oh.